Welcome to day 17, lab 27. In this lab, we'll try to go and improve our database design. So till now, we have been heavily concentrating on the application front end. In other words, if you look at our application front end, we have created a 3-tier architecture. We have separated the data access layer, the business logic, the UI. It's perfectly nice. But somewhere down the line, we have not paid attention to the database. And remember that when we talk about applications, the most important part of the application is the data. Now this complete 17th day, we're going to go and dedicate it to database designing. In other words, we're going to go and improve our database design and make our application much better. So till now, we were concentrating on the front end part of the application, but now it is time to go and also look into the back end part of the application and make it better. Now before you go ahead and you see this complete video, what my request would be to go and see 2 videos prior to this. One video is can you explain first, second and third normal form, and the second video is what is denormalization in databases, because both of these videos will help you to understand the 3 important techniques of database designing, that is first normal form, second normal form and third normal form. So in this lecture or in this practical, I'm not going to go and explain you the different database designing techniques, but I'm going to go and implement it. So what my suggestion would be to go and see both of these videos and then come back and see this video completely. So let's start with the first problem. The first problem is this country field over here. Currently, this country field is having data integrity problem. Tomorrow, someone can go and type over here IND. Now, IND is abbreviation for India, so that is also perfectly fine. But then we end up into data integrity problem here, data consistency problem. So somebody can type IND over here, somebody can type something else, which again means India. Okay, and tomorrow if someone searches for India, he will not get this record. This record which has the customer name as new, and if he searches for IND, he will not get the other records. So this can lead to more confusion and more problems. So the first thing what we need to solve is we need to go and solve this data integrity problem which is related to this country field over here. So to solve this data integrity problem, let's follow our 3 normalization rules which we have discussed in this video over here. So I hope that you have seen this video, right? In case not, I would advise to go and see that video. So as per the normalization rules, what we need to do is we need to go and create one more master table here called as a country master, and the reference of the country master we need to give into this table over here, right? So what we'll do is first let's go ahead and create a new table over here, and this new table will have a country ID must be, which is an integer, and a country name which is, let's say, ncat of 10 for now, and we'll name this table as country master, right? And this country ID will create as a primary key and save it. And also let's go ahead and put some data into our country master. So I'll just go here and say 1 for India, 2 for US. So I'm going to just say here 1 for India, 2 for Sri Lanka, 3 for Nepal, 4 for US, right? So so we have all these countries and we have entered into our centralized database over here. Now the reference of this country ID will provide in this DBO customer over here, okay, in the customer table here. So for that, what we need to do is we need to go and create a simple foreign key relationship with this table over here, right? So let us go to the country table, customer table now, and let's go and open it in a design mode. So the first thing is we'll just get rid of this country field from here, okay? So we're going to go and delete this column, and we're going to go and create a simple column here saying country ID foreign key. Okay, simple, right? Now we are doing major changes to our table, so this is going to have a lot of big impact to our code, okay? But fine, whatever we are doing, this is all good for the project. Okay, so I'm going to go and close this. Now the next thing is we need to go and define a relationship between this customer and the country master, right? So let's go ahead to our database diagram over here. Let's right click and say new database diagram. Yes, I want to create one, and let's go and add the customer and the country master into the database diagram here. So now let's go ahead and define a relationship between this country ID field and this country ID underscore FK field over here. So let me just go and select this, and let me go and drag and drop this field onto this customer transaction table here. So you can see now we are creating a relationship between the country master and our customer transaction table. Okay, so let me do it okay over here. Now you can see over here what we are saying is, okay, this country master data will be referenced into this country ID underscore FK field over here. So I'm going to go and save this relationship, save it. Yes. Now how will be the data entered, right? Or how the data will get entered? So we already have entered data into our country master here, right? Now in the customer transaction table, you'll say that, okay, let's say Mr. Aditya belongs to India, so you will put here value as 1. Let's say PQR belongs to Sri Lanka, so you'll put the value as 2. Let's say test belongs to India, again value as 1. Let's say someone belongs to Nepal, so let's say 3. So basically, now with these references, things are much easier over here. And let's say for some reason, if you're putting some wrong data here, for example, we have only 4 records here, right? Let's say, if somebody is going and putting some wrong data over here, let's say he's putting 5, and this 5 record is not existing in our country master, what will happen is you'll get an error here saying that, hey, I don't find any kind of record called as 4 into the country master. So in this way, we are also getting rid of the data integrity problem or the data consistency problem, right? So great. So we have done, we have normalized our tables here. We have created the country master, as well as we have given the references to the customer transaction table here. Now we have made such a big change to our database. We have added a complete new table altogether. We have put references. Now this will definitely go and affect, our application, right? Our application will not work, with this new database design by itself. In other words, if you now go and try to run your application by any chance, right, I'm sure that you will end up with such kind of errors over here, right? So we need to go and do major modifications to our code now, so that this new database design can fit in. So let's start with the first change in our front end. The first change is that we have introduced a country table here, right? And currently, this country drop down in the customer data entry screen is coming from hard-coded values. So if you remember, the drop-down values are actually coming, from this hard coding which we have done in the items, right? So the first thing is we would like to get rid of this. In other words, we would like that this data should now come from this table, and it should not come, from this hard-coded values. So let me first go and delete this, and let me say okay. So now we don't have any hard coding here. The only thing what we have to do now is, we have to connect, this combo box, to this database value here. So let's first start from the data access layer. Let's follow our 3-tier architecture golden rule which we have laid out. So from the data access layer, we'll go ahead and we'll expose a nice function which will actually expose a country data set. This data set will be passed to the middle tier, and the middle tier data will be then bound to the UI layer. So what we'll do is, over here, we'll go and expose. So let's go ahead here and let's create a data set which returns all countries. Okay, so here, the complete thing will be same. So I'm going to go and cut paste this, or else copy paste this get customers function code here, and I'll say, okay, please return me country master. So select star from country master. Great. So we have exposed a nice a data set of countries, which actually helps us to get all the countries which are available in this table over here. Okay, now the next thing is, let's go ahead to our middle tier and let's add a country class over there. So let me just go to the middle tier here, and in the middle tier let me go and add a new class here, and this class I will name it as country.cs. Right, so this will be a public class, and from this country class we'll go and expose that data set. So I'm going to go and say here public. Now for data set we need to have system.data namespace. So you can see that I have imported the data access layer here, and also I've imported the ADO.NET component which will help us to get access to data set. So I'm going to say here public data set get countries, and I'll create the object of SQL Server class here. All right, and this guy will return the data set to the UI. Right, so let me just go and build solution. So everything is fine there, no errors. Great. Now let's go to our UI. So let me go back to my FRM create customer here. So in our UI, let's go ahead and create a very simple method here called as void load countries. All right, countries. So here now what we'll do is let's go ahead and create the object of the country class. So country obj country equal to new country, and let's go ahead and bind the data source of the combo box with the data set which is returned from this country class. Right, we have two things. One is we have this ID here, and the other one is we have the text. Now when the end user goes and runs the screen, right, and when he goes and clicks on the combo box, he should be seeing this text over here. But when he goes and selects one of these values and say submit, actually we should be able to go and pick up this value and put it into the customers table, right? So in other words, somehow we need to go and specify in the combo box that what should be the display value and what should be the actual value. So for that, combo box has a very nice property here called as display member. Now this display member is nothing but it's a property which tells you, okay, what has to be displayed to the end user. Okay, so I'll say, okay, the display member is country name. Okay, and when somebody goes and selects that country name, the actual value will be, that is value member will be country ID. Country ID. Right, so there's a nice function we have created which actually will go and load this country into this combo box over here. Now let's go ahead and call this load function as soon as the form loads. So as soon as the form loads here, we would like to go and load the countries as well. Right, now let me go and run my application to just see that if we can see our countries drop down filled properly. So there's my application running. Pass at the rate 1 to 3. There's some problem here. You can see that we are not seeing the country's value. We are seeing something over here, systems or data. I got what the problem is. The problem is, we are trying to go and bind this data set over here, right? We should actually bind the table. So it should be dataset.tables.0, right? So this data source should be binded to table. You can, if you remember, right, whenever we have binded the data source, we have always binded the table and not the actual data set. Okay, so let's go ahead and again test. Hopefully we should be able to go and see the country's value. There we are. So you can now see that how the data which is there in this country's table over here is getting filled into this drop down here. So we are done with the first part of our changes on the front end. Now let's go ahead with the second part of changes. Now the biggest change what we have made here is the customer table, right? The customer table's country field is now an integer, right? In other words, this is the integer value which is referenced from the country master table. So the first important change what we need to do here is we need to go to our customer class and we need to go and change that data type to integer. So previously our customer class had the country name as a string, but now it is an integer, right? So we need to go and make this big change here. Now this one is a big change here, so I'm going to go and name this as country ID and I'll say equal to 0, right? And let's also go and define the set and get for this. So right click, refactor, encapsulate field, okay, apply. And the second thing is we also need to get rid of that country name, right? So this country name is no more needed. It's going to be a country ID which is an integer, right? And let me now go and build this. We are going to get lots of errors, but we'll try to fix those errors one by one. So you can see the first thing is underscore country name does not exist. That's absolutely right, because now this country name is changed to country ID and the country ID is an integer value. So the first thing is we'll go to our insert customer here and we'll make this as a int. And in the same way our update customer will also be a int. And the second thing is this is not a country name, now it's a country ID, and this also is a country ID. So let me again go and build this. Again we are going to get more errors now because we have made lots of changes again, right, because of the country ID. So let me just go one by one. This is again a very much valid error because there is no country name. Now we have actually country ID, and this country ID is an integer, right? So we need to go and say that okay, whatever is the selected value. Now remember that there is a selected text. The selected text is the text which you actually see on the combo box, and the value is the integer value which is set inside the combo box for each one of those texts. Okay, so we need to go and take that selected value and we need to ensure that we go and change this to a integer. So save this. Again let me go and build. So some more errors. Double click, yes, again the same thing, country ID. So again the same thing, we need to typecast it, convert dot to int dot selected value. So let's again build. So let's build, fix errors, build, fix errors. So yes, again the same thing here, even country ID. Now this is this error is coming the ASP.NET thing, but we'll fix it for now here. Convert dot to int. It is coming from the ASP.NET pages, but that's fine. We'll just fix it for now. We'll later go and update the changes in ASP.NET pages. Country ID, convert dot to int dot selected value. Great. So let me just go and build this completely, and I think we should not get any errors now. So you can see that it's it's 0 errors, and that is good. Now one more big change which we need to do is the way our insert and update SQL statements are, because we have changed the data type from string to int. We need to ensure that those statements are updated as well. So let's first start with insert here. Now in the insert customer, right, this country is actually an integer, and so if it's an integer then you don't need this single quotes. Okay, so that's one change which we need to do here. And also now the positions of the fields have changed. In other words, because we have deleted that country field and we have added again, you can see now the country field has now moved as a last field, right? So what we'll do is in this insert statement here, let's go ahead and let's specify the actual field names so that we don't get into any kind of problems. So the first field name is customer name, so I'm just going to put here customer name, comma. The second one is gender, sorry, the second one is country, so country ID underscore FK, country ID underscore FK, and just make it better here like this so that it is indented, comma. So after country ID it is gender, so gender, comma, hobbies, comma, status. Now
status. So married, actually this status over here is, it's a married field in the database. And finally email. So what I've done here is, I have tried to be specific, because now the positions of the fields have changed, okay, because of adding and removing. So just that we don't end into any problems, I've just gone ahead and I've specified the actual field names here. There is a red sign here, yeah, it's 2+. Okay, so you can see now country name, here's country name, after that country, gender, hobbies, married, that is the status, and email. Great. And in the same way, let's go ahead and also change our update syntax here. So the only change what we need to do in the update syntax is that this country is now integer, so we need to go and remove this single quotes here. Okay, perfect. So let me just go and build this so that, just to check that we don't have any errors. So there are no errors. Good. So let me just go ahead and run this application here. Slow, yeah, there it is. So Shiv, right. So now let's go ahead and test, if you can add a new record here. So I'll just say testy. Let me go and select Nepal, quest@quest.com, questpond.com, mail, reading, married, add. You can see the record has been added, testy, and it is good. And if I go to my SQL server now, right, and if I go do a refresh, I can see that testy has also been added here. And second very important point to note is, because I've selected the country as Nepal, you can see that he has added the country ID FK as 3. Okay, so 1 for India, and I think 2 for US, and 3 for Nepal. And now let's go ahead and see if we can select and edit the record as well. So I'm going to go and click on this testy here. So there is an error there, and this error was anticipated, because we have done all the changes, which will accommodate the database design changes from insert and update perspective, but we have not done changes, from the select perspective. Okay, now, if you see this error over here, this married field is actually this married variable here is Boolean, right? And if you see this value over here, this value, let's quickly go and check this, it is numeric. So what has happened is, because we have deleted that field, country field, and we have added it again, right, the complete position have been shifted. Okay, so now what's happening is, this 0, 1, 2, 3, those positions are very different, as it was previously. So what we'll do is, let's go ahead and specify the actual column names here, so that we don't end up into problems. Okay, so I'm going to say here, yes, this is actually the customer name, this is actually the country ID underscore FK, right? And now remember that this country name is it's an integer. Okay, so I'm going to say it's int country name or country ID. Okay, so this is, don't worry about the red signs. First let's go ahead and fix this whole thing. And country ID underscore FK, we need to also convert this because this returns object, and at the left hand side we have an integer. So convert dot to int. So this is gender. See, it is always better to go and specify the actual names, rather than specifying the indexes like 0, 1, 2, and 3. Later when you go into maintenance, right, it's very difficult to know which field was where. Hobbies. This is email. This one is the married field. Married field. And now here, basically we cannot set the text, right? This country ID is numeric, so we have to set the value. Remember, the value is numeric, and the displayed text is actually a text. Okay, so we'll say that, okay, whatever country ID we get over here, just go and select the appropriate value. Right, so we are done with all the changes. Looks like this should work now. So let me just go and run this. I hope now even the select should work. So there we are. Share. Right, enter customer. So the addition was working. Now let's click on this testy. So you can see now we are seeing the values properly here. Great. Even as we go and select countries like India, you can see India is selected here. If I select testy, it is Nepal. Okay. Also let me see if the update is working. So I'll just say changed testy. Okay, and we'll change this to India. Say update. Oh, there is an error there. Invalid column name country. Great that it is crashing. Let's go and see. Well, actually the problem is, there is no country field anymore. It is country ID underscore FK. So this update here, this column name is not country. It has to be country ID underscore FK. Okay, so let's do that. Country ID underscore FK. Right. So now let's go ahead and again run the application. Let's see that our update is also working. So Shiv login. So let me just go and click on this testy here. Let me just change this to India. I'll say this is new email @yahoo.com, and let's say update. Okay, so fine. So you can see now this testy has been updated. You can see this new email address value has come here, and you can also see this testy's country also has been updated. It is now 1, which means it is India. Okay. Now one more problem here is that if you go and expand this grid, right, we are not, it is not displaying here the country name. It is displaying a numeric value. Now for the end user, this is very confusing, right? Okay, for developers it is fine. We understand 1 is India and 3 is Nepal, but for end user, this is very confusing, right? So we need to go and change this SQL statement, which will also help us to go and display here country name, rather than displaying this country ID over here, right? So let's go ahead and manipulate that SQL statement there. So let's go to that SQL statement, where this grid is loaded. So if you remember, we had one nice function here called as load grid, load customers, I'll say. And this load customers was actually going and querying this get customers here, and from here we were going and fetching the data. Now you can see now this is a very simple select. It is like just select star from customer, right? So it is something like this. It is like select star from customer, something like this. But what we need to now do is, in order to pull up this country data, right, or this country string, from this country master over here, we need to make an inner join. Okay. In other words, we need to join, this table, this customers table, with this guy over here, right? So for that, we need to go and write a SQL statement here. So let's go ahead and pin down our SQL statement. So SQL. So it's going to be like, okay, select customer name. Control C this. Let me just take this to a new window here. Control V. All right. So we have to say select customer name, gender. All those things are standard. Hobbies, married, my ID, email. Now we don't want to display this country ID underscore FK to the end user. We want to display the actual country name, right? So for that we have to say inner join country master on. So what is the join on actually? The join is on this country ID underscore FK, right? And it is with this country ID. So we'll say here join on country ID underscore FK equal to country ID, right? So now, and from the country table we would like to go and display the country name. So I'll just say here, okay, comma, country name. So if I do a select, now you can see that we are also getting a display of the country name. Okay, and this is what we want to go and display on that grid. Okay, so let me just go and copy this SQL statement here. Now before I go ahead, right, this is called as inner joins. Now in SQL, there are more other joins, like we have outer join, we have a cross join. So what my suggestion would be to please go and see the other three different kind of joins, that is the left join, right join, and full outer join. So in this practical, we are demonstrating inner joins, but there are other joins as well in SQL. So what my suggestion would be to go to the .NET fundamental section, and you can see that there is a nice video here called as state 4 different types of SQL join. So please go and see this video so that you can also you are also aware of the other three kind of joins. So for now, let's go and copy this SQL. Let's go back to our code. So let me go and copy this SQL statement here, Control V, right? So lots of red signs there, don't worry, it's just so we'll just put a plus here, shift plus, and let's do a tab. So we'll take this up, take this guy up, ID, so again plus, so that we don't lose the indentation, because readability is also equivalently important. Now we are not interested in the country ID underscore FK, right? So let me just get rid of this, because this will more confuse the end user. From country name plus, right, from customer plus inner join on, right. So you can see now we have put that inner join in our get customers function here. So now what will happen is it should actually go and display as the country name on the grid and not the country ID. Okay, so let me just go and build this, and let me do a Control F5 here. Hope that we'll see a more user-friendly grid now. Shiv pass at the rate 123. So file, enter customer. Right, now let's see. So you can see now it is displaying as a country name and not the ID. Okay, and that is much user-friendly, right? So our update is working. Update, that is working. Our delete is working, and we can also go ahead and add new records, right? So even that is working, just to test it finally. Hill, reading, married, add. Great. So we have successfully implemented this new change of what we have made here. So in other words, whatever this change of creating a new master table, so even now our front end is compatible with the with the updates, right? So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Now there is a second thing in this application which we need to update, and that is the ASP.NET application, because whatever database design changes we have done, definitely the ASP.NET application will also crash, right? So the same kind of changes also have to be done on the ASP.NET side.
Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We all here from C#corner.com team as well as from Questpoint.com team are personally committed to complete this Learn.NET in 60 days for free. But this series is so vast, right? And we need to ensure that we come up with good quality, right? So it takes time to build up these videos, but we are committed and we will complete this complete project in a short span. Now lately we were getting a lot of emails from freshers saying that we can do the practicals now, we can create a screen, we can put the text boxes, we can connect to a database, but when we go in companies, right, people ask about concepts. For example, okay, I can make a connection by using ADO.NET, but then suddenly people say that what is connection pooling, and I'm not aware of it, right? So I would like to point out here the difference between doing a practical and understanding concept. These two things are very different. It is like one is you can drive a car, but other is that you can be a mechanic who knows how to drive a car as well as he understands how the inner working of the car works. So this Learn.NET in 60 days will help you to complete a project. It will help you to execute a project. You can create screens, you can complete a project in a day or two. But when it comes to concept understanding and other parts of .NET, there is a limitation, because how much can we cover in this 60 days, right? So and I hope that everybody will understand that and appreciate it. So what we have done is basically on this site, Questpoint.com, I have uploaded other things which are important in .NET and SQL. For example, MVC. SSIS, SSRS, SSAS, SharePoint, then fundamentals of .NET, right? After that, Silverlight, which is again one of those technologies which are connected with .NET. Design patterns, very important, specifically if you're a senior. Then testing, when you talk about web applications or I'm sorry, software applications, testing is again an important aspect. So I have a complete video list over here which does unit testing, load testing, performance testing, database testing. jQuery, again very important. 4.0 and 4.5 videos. UML, without UML diagrams you cannot really create a proper technical document. Best practices in .NET. SQL Server section, again like in our Learn .NET in 60 days we are confined to inner joins and left joins, right? But there are lots of other things in SQL, like example database design, wildcard operators, union all, aggregate, subqueries, correlated queries, indexes, and a lot of things here, triggers, etc. So these things again I have covered here. Windows Phone development in case you are interested. WCF, again in Learn .NET series, currently we don't have any kind of example which talks about WCF, but I have a complete list of WCF over here. SQL Server, again performance tuning of SQL Server, which is equivalently important. LinkU, Azure Cloud Computing, Windows Workflow, threading, multi-threading, TPL, task parallel library. So other than .NET, right, other than this Learn .NET in 60 days, there are other things also you have to know as a developer in case you want to become a complete professional in .NET programming, right? And that's what I have uploaded in this questpon.com. So in case you get time, please do visit my site here on questpon.com and understand the other aspects of .NET as well. Thank you so much.